they have no jobs. They have no businesses. The great majority of them. The stress is very high. Bringing up children under such a stress can be quite challenging. And what type of children are you going to bring up when you, the parent, is all the time unhappy, all the time stressed? So when we talk about young people, let's realize that they are the majority of our most active citizens, active in terms of giving us children, active in terms of what is supposed to be the economic development of this country. But look at where they are. Even in terms of elections, they do form a big part. 5 million of our voters are between the age of 19 and 34. This is according to the statistics of 2022, September. Then women are also the majority of our population. The majority of our population are women. Again, these same women bear the greatest burden of looking after their families. And as I said, also part of these women are younger women. Women produce children between 18, 17, and 35. This is the age of the youth. Seldom do we have women producing children in the 40s. Yes, they do, but it's not the majority of them. So our women who are highly productive, or who are supposed to be highly productive, are in the age of the youth. And look at the challenges they face. Look at the difficulties they have to endure every day. Look at the lack of opportunities that are there. The median age in Zambia today is 18.3. That's the median age, according to the 2022 statistics. The estimate for 2025 is 17.9. If your median age is below 20, it means you have got a younger population, you have got a young population. So the population of Zambia is a young population. What is it that we are doing for them today, and what will their future be tomorrow? We also have a population growth rate today of 3.5%. 3.5% per annum. That's our average national population growth rate. For the rural places, it's 2.7. For the urban areas, it's 4.5%. Which means in the next less than 15 years, the population of this country will double. Today, we have 19.6 million Zambians, according to the 2022 census. But the estimate for 2025 puts it at 21.9 million. What is it that we are doing to construct a future for this doubled population? What is it that we are doing today in terms of food production in agriculture? What are we doing to be able to feed a more than double the population in less than 15 years? Where are the jobs going to come from for these young people we are going to have in huge numbers, up to a population of more than 40 million? How is the housing situation going to be? Bakalaika la kuisa, bakalala la kuisa. Bakalali enshi. Inga maskulu akabashani. Ifipatala fika bashani. How is water and sanitation going to be? Amenshakala fumakuisa. For the doubled population, if we don't have enough clean water for a population of less than 20 million.
Just on that, Dr. Mwimbu, as you're looking forward to the future, what is your comprehensive vision for women and the young people in Zambia? And how does the Socialist Party's principles align with achieving your vision for them?
I'm talking about the future because revolutionaries fight for the future. Of course, without ignoring the struggles of the present. The future is not built in the future. The future is built on the threshold of what we do today, the decisions we make today, the actions we take today. Build the future. If we have a population that is going to double, first, we have to be aware of what the realities are. We have to be aware of these realities. You cannot solve a problem or tackle a problem you don't understand. We have to understand where we are coming from, where we are today, to construct a future that will be more positive, that will be much better, that will be much more fair, more humane, more just. For the Socialist Party, one of the primary areas we have to tackle is education. We have to start spending more on education to ensure that, the future generations and the present are educated. The Socialist Party will spend not less than 25% of the national budget on education. We will spend not less than 20% on the health of these Zambians. We will spend not less than 15% on agriculture. Because there's need for these three key basic things. There's need for food. Human beings today, in the modern world, they cannot live by hunting and gathering.
These are huge allocations, Dr. Mwiimbu.
Do we have a choice?
Where is all this money going to come from?
It will come from the people themselves. We are generating money today. People are working. If the money that we are generating from mining activities, we got a fair share of it today, we'll have some income. If the money being generated from other economic activities was being spent on our people, some of these problems will be tackled. Take, for instance, Eastern Province today. Eastern Province grows cotton. It grows tobacco. It grows groundnuts. It grows soya. And I can say maize and a bit of rice. But today, Eastern Province, despite growing all these things, the people in Eastern Province are enduring poverty levels of 76.4%. 76.4%. That's the poverty level in Eastern Province. It's the 5th poorest province of our country. How? Where is the money from the tobacco going? Where is the money from the cotton going? They are being exploited. They are not benefiting from the work that they are doing.
How do you intend on them benefiting from their work and the agriculture produce that the Eastern Province produces to push the poverty levels in the Eastern Province a bit lower?
By constructing a fair and just economy. A just economy is where people benefit from their sweat, from their labor. If your labor, your sweat cannot feed you, what will feed you? If the more you work in your fields, the poorer you become. How can you explain that? What else can you do? Our people are working 7 days a week in Eastern Province. The more they work, the more thinner they become, the more poorer they become. What is it that you should tell them to do? Can you accuse them of not working hard? Are the people who are living better than them working more harder than them? If a human being cannot live by the work of his hands or her hands, what else can they do? Steal? And if it's stealing, from where and from who? Simply what they need is a government that protects them from exploitation, from being ripped off, from being plundered. They have been plundered for too long. They have suffered for too long. They have been humiliated for too long.
Who was plundered from these farmers, Dr. Mwiimbu? Because obviously, since time immemorial, most subsistence farmers in this country, when they grow mostly their produce, which is, I'll give an example, maize, they sell it to the Food Reserve Agency or the private buyers who are the millers. And tobacco obviously has got off-takers. There are loan systems that this tobacco company is actually, put in place, and it's already bought before it's even harvested. There's all that. What sort of revolution do you intend to have in this sector as far as tobacco, maize, and these other crops? What different thing are you going to do for the farmer to actually benefit from this?
Great. Let's look at cotton. You have mentioned cotton or tobacco. Let's look at how cotton is grown in Eastern Province. The transnational corporations go to Eastern Province with seed, with fertilizer, with pesticides. They give them to the peasant farmers in Eastern Province, to our people, the poor farmers. They don't give it to them for free. They give it to those inputs to them at a price determined by themselves. No negotiation. And they don't even give them in their villages. No, they go to some satellites or some centers. They determine the price, they record them in a register. They have given you this much of inputs at this price. You have to find the transport to take that to your village, where the ox pulled carts, light trucks, canters, or you have to carry it on your head or on your bicycle. You plow your own land. It's your own land. You plow it with your own hands at your own expense. Plant the seeds, apply the fertilizers, apply the pesticides, harvest it on your own, bag that cotton, transport it again at your own cost to the centers or the satellites. Then these generic companies, who are multinational corporations, come again with a determined price for your cotton. No negotiation. They set their own price. They get that cotton at that price. They deduct the inputs that they had given you. The change, that small change, is what the peasant farmer gets. And that small change has been growing smaller and smaller and smaller over the years. Nobody is protecting them, as if there's no government to protect them. That cotton is shipped by the generic companies to Lusaka, compressed and exported. Within a month, all the cotton is gone. You have no textile industry in Zambia. So all the cotton they grow goes out. They only get it back sometimes in Salaula, clothes from dead people in Europe. They can't even wear, the growers of cotton can't wear even new cotton clothes. They have to wear clothes from dead people somewhere in Europe. What I'm saying about cotton, you can say the same thing about tobacco. You can say the same thing about soya, groundnuts, even maize. Let's look at maize. Our peasant farmers who are growing maize in Eastern Province and elsewhere, they are given inputs, fertilizers and seed sometimes, in small quantities. They grow their hectarage or 1 acre or whatever. After they grow that maize, the government agency, FRI, comes and gets that maize at a price determined by themselves. No negotiations with the peasant farmer. What is their profit? What are they being paid for? They are simply being paid for growing. They are hired laborers by FRI on behalf of government. They are just paid a small wage for growing that maize for the government to come and take and feed people, because if they don't feed them, they won't stay in power. The benefit to that peasant farmer is so small. It is not that our people are not working why they are poor. It's simply because they are being exploited.
How do we stop the exploitation, Dr. Mwiimbu?
We ourselves, together with them, working together, we can stop that. Government can pass laws. Government can pass laws. Should we continue with this system? If we continue with it, Where is the end? How our people who are dependent on agriculture get out of poverty if we continue with this system? If there is no alternative to this system, what does the future hold for our people? If we are not able to correct this, how are we going to improve the living conditions of our people? Because they are not poor because they don't work. They are poor because they are being exploited. If we don't stop this exploitation or minimize it or reduce it, what is the future of our people? And what are governments constituted for? What are our people looking for from a government? From their leaders? Especially those in government. What are they looking for? If it's not protection, if it's not enabling them to live a better life, if it's not fairness, if it's not justice, if it's not humaneness, what should they expect from a government? We have governments today that protect transnational corporations, that protect the profits these transnational corporations should make at the expense of their own people. And it's happening not only in agriculture, it's happening in mining, it's happening everywhere. Our people are losing their income from the resources of their own efforts. They're exploited with their own hands. It's not that our people don't work. We are not a country of lazy people. And if you look around, the people who work more harder, the hardest workers, are the poorest. Those who sit down watching television and getting a contract here, there, a tender here and there, are the richest. Are they the hardest workers? No. And they will even look down upon the people who work much harder and say they are lazy. They are making millions and millions, billions and billions. What hard work are they doing? And most, when you look at it mostly, it's the leaders, both of yesterday and of today. They are the richest. They live far much better lives than the people they lead.
I want us to, move away from issues to do with agriculture and, since you've extensively explained on it. I want to take you to Kasama. The incidents that happened in Kasama, because President Hakainde Hichilema, while in Kasama during the commemoration of Women's Day, stated that Zambians had agreed to amend the constitution ahead of the 2021 elections. A statement that has been received with mixed feelings by many Zambians. What are your thoughts on this claim? Do you believe there was genuine consensus among Zambians to have this constitution amended before the 2026 general elections?
Mr. Hakainde Hichilema is attempting something that is not new. He is playing a game of manipulation. But manipulators have never deserved anybody's respect. And they have never been successful anywhere. Manipulators are like little sailboats that blow with the wind or the waves. Manipulation is synonymous with opportunism. It is actually opportunism. Manipulation doesn't have substance. It has no roots. And because it has got no substance, it has no roots, it doesn't subsist for long. I think everything is possible, including respect for each other, where people are honest with themselves and with others. Mr. Hakainde is trying to manipulate things for his own personal benefit, for his own political survival. The ideas he's propagating today will not achieve much, because political ideas are worthless if they are not inspired by noble, selfless sentiments. Likewise, noble ideas noble sentiments are worthless if they are not based on correct and fair ideas. What Mr. Hichilema is trying to do with the Constitution is very clear. It's simply about prolonging his stay in office. Today he's saying he has got a draft of the Constitution. The other day in Kasama, he was saying people have agreed to changing the Constitution, to amending the Constitution. Who did he agree with? Who did he consult? He's reminding me of Emperor Bokassa of the Central African Republic, who used to sit alone and pass resolution and say, cabinet has approved this. He was himself alone as cabinet approving things. We can excuse Bokassa, but we can't excuse Mr. Hichilema. He's living in a new time, in a different time from Bokassa. What Africans tolerated with Bokassa, they cannot tolerate today. There is a new awareness today, calling for new approaches, demanding more honesty in dealing with others. Mr. Hichilema, we know his intentions over the Constitution. He wants to change the Constitution to politically survive. The issues of the youth, the issues of the women, the proportional representation he's talking about is not what is driving him. What is propelling Mr. Hichilema over the Constitution is the 50+1.
What makes you say that? Because he did win in 2021 with that same system.
Things have changed. His popularity, his standing, his grading today the same as in 2021. Are politics constant? Things don't change. They are not in motion. He knows his popularity has dropped. If he is confident, let's go for 50+1. Let him not change anything and see if you get it. Let's see if you get it. The other thing driving Hichilema is also the running mate. He wants to get away from that because he's a manipulator. He wants to manipulate things. He cannot have a vice president he can't fire. He cannot have a vice president he can't change. Our system today protects the vice president. Whether you talk to each other or you don't talk to each other with your vice president, you are saddled with that vice president for 5 years. Hichilema doesn't want that.
What makes you say that he doesn't want these particular clauses?
It's very clear. And there's talk inside. What is said behind the walls sometimes gets out. There are no secrets in these things. If this is not, what is more urgent? That he should change the Constitution before the elections? If it's not about the elections, why can't he wait until after the elections? Why can't he wait until after the elections if it's not about the elections? He wants to change the Constitution because of next year's elections. If it's not about next year's elections, let him wait. He won't wait because the changes he wants to make are for the elections, for him to survive. They are not selfless things he's talking about. He's trying to create a virtue out of a weakness. The issues about women representation, youth representation is talking about, they are not at the fore of his head. If he was so concerned about representation of women and young people, who has stopped him from appointing young people in his government? He has nominations to parliament. How many young people has he nominated to parliament? He had the right to adopt. Even in his stronghold of Southern Province, he could have adopted much younger, more people, much more women. Did he adopt more younger people, more women? How many women did he adopt in the strongholds? where they could easily win. How many women has he appointed? And who stops him? Let him show us a constitutional provision that stops him from appointing women. Let him show us a constitutional provision that stops him from appointing young people in various places or various positions.
So for you, Dr. Mwiimbu, this constitutional amendments is not a very urgent matter that it cannot wait until after the 2026 general elections.
I'm not the only one saying so. The Catholic bishops issued a statement, issued a pastoral letter, saying the same thing, telling him to wait until after the elections. And many others have voiced the same. I'm not the only mad person, no. I'm simply adding my voice to that.
I want to take you back to when we attempted to amend our constitution, because it has always been a very controversial issue in Zambia, and this is evident from the manner stakeholders differed over Bill 10. How, in your view, should this government approach this undertaking to ensure that there's consensus at the end of the day?
The Zambian people have a sense of justice at the end of the day. You can manipulate them here and there, but at the end of the day, they have got a very high sense of justice. In 1996, when Chiluba wanted to amend the constitution to bar Kenneth Kaunda from contesting elections, Zambians opposed him strongly. But of course, he ignored the wishes of the Zambian people. In 2001, in 2001, Mr. Chiluba wanted to introduce a third term for himself. He was not satisfied with staying in office for 10 years. He wanted to stay longer. He wanted to amend the constitution and give himself a third term. The Zambian people refused, including his own cabinet colleagues, who resigned en masse, including his vice president, resigned. General Christon Tembo, the vice president, resigned. Madam Edith Nawakwe resigned, among many others. And his third term failed. It affected even the performance of the MMD government party in the elections that followed. We saw the attempts by successive governments to amend the constitution to fit their electoral interests. Most of those have not succeeded. And those involved have usually paid a very high price. Over the constitutions Zambians give it to them, they have been very resolute. They have been very reasonable. They have been very purposeful. And I don't think Mr. Hichilema will get away with it. Yes, he's not a person who listens to anybody. He only listens to his inner demons. He will ignore what people are saying. He's already telling you he has got a draft constitution. Who did he draft that constitution with? So he secretly drafted it. Can you change the constitution secretly? He has secretly, quietly drafted a constitution for this country.
Speaking of that, I would like to play something for you. Earlier on, we did have Chief Government, we did have State House's communication specialist, Mr. Clayton Hamasaka, on the Red Hot Breakfast show this morning. Let's just listen into what he said regarding the draft constitution.
I'm hoping there you could have there could be the actual text of the same from the Ministry of Justice, and as you know, they are the ones who are leading the process. Probably, maybe even today or tomorrow, they could give some comprehensive statement around it, or probably next week or so. But otherwise, the actual text, yes, will come out soon, and even in the government gazette to be gazetted. Then, obviously, the consultations will continue around it, so that nobody is left behind around it. So it will come. It will come.
Mr. Hamasaka there on issue to do with the draft constitution. What's your reaction to that?
Firstly, these same people had been denying over a long period of time that they wanted to change the constitution. The same man who is talking there has denied on behalf of his boss, no, there are no intentions to amend the constitution. There are no intentions to change this and that in the constitution. The boss himself has also voiced similar sentiments. But the language over the last few days has changed. Has changed. Eventually, they are admitting what they were denying. How do you deal with the constitution in such a secretive way? The only thing people come to hear is we have consulted. Oh, there's a draft constitution. From where? From where and how? By who? Is that the way a constitution is changed? Or should be changed? They are treating the constitution like a statutory instrument that they can secretly put up. Even an act of parliament or a serious matter is not dealt with like that. They do have hearings here, they do consult here, and they are open to the stakeholders. What more the constitution? Is that the way to build consensus around the constitution? Is that the way they are going to say we, the people of Zambia, have given ourselves a constitution? This will be a constitution of Hakainde, by Hakainde, for Hakainde, for his own political survival.
Mr. Hamasaka earlier on did say that the consultations were made, they had opinions from the church and other stakeholders. He gave an example of the interview that we had with him as a form of consultation from the media as well.
Which church have they consulted? 32% of Lusaka are Catholics. Have they consulted the Catholics? Have they consulted the SDA leadership? Have they consulted the UCZ? And many other religious institutions in this country? Who have they spoken to? Let them tell the Zambian people who they have consulted and when and how. And consultations can't be secret. Over the constitution, consultations should be public. And what they discussed with the religious leaders over the constitution should be public. It can't be secret. There are no secret consultations over the constitution. Again, this is the problem with the liars. Today they say they are not amending the constitution. Tomorrow they say they have consulted. The next day they say they have a draft. What type of people are these? I think Mr. Mwanawasa put it very well about describing the character of Mr. Hichilema. He does not hesitate to lie if lying is what helps him to achieve his objectives.
I want to move away from issues to do with the constitutional amendment and touch on something that's been very topical for the past few weeks. Dr. Membe, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has announced this week that more than 80% of USAID programs are officially ending, and this should be bad news for Zambia, having benefited in various sectors for the economy. How, in your view, will the termination of the majority of USAID programs impact Zambia's healthcare, economic development, and other initiatives that relied on U.S. funding for many years?
But maybe before I come to that, I want to make a clarion call to the Zambian people over this constitution amendment. Mr. Hichilema was telling them in Mongo yesterday that there's no need for them to demonstrate. There's no need for them to protest against his attempts to manipulate, to butcher our constitution. My clarion call is resist this attempt by Mr. Hichilema. Let's not allow him to change the supreme law of our country on his own. The supreme law of this country is changed by all of us, not by one person. If he attempts or insists on going ahead, let him pay the maximum price. politically. Coming to foreign aid from the USA, we have depended on others for too long. From the time these people got into contact with us, they have tried to make us dependent on them. And somehow we became dependent on them. We were colonized in 1891 by Cecil John Rhodes with his company, the British South African Company. For 33 years, we were ruled by a company and its owner from 1891 to 1924. From 1924 to 1964, we were ruled by the British government. Where has it taken us? From 1964 to date, we have been dependent on others. Our budget is continually being funded by others, or a certain portion of it is funded by others. Everything is donor aid, donors this, donors that. Cooperating partners this, cooperating partners this or that. But while we are doing that, poverty is deepening. They are getting away with our resources. We're giving them tax concessions. They take that money and pay taxes in their home countries. Then we go to those countries and beg for some little help. We give away billions to go and ask for a few thousands of dollars. Clearly, we must choose realistic solutions to all these problems, not the path of agony. We have been on this path of agony for too long. We must choose a clear, intelligent, effective solution, not head toward Calvary. I think we have been struggling uphill for too long. Long enough. We have suffered the torment of Calvary, but also that of Sisyphus. It's easier to climb Calvary because it's quick, it can be climbed quickly. Our torment, our torture has been for too long. We push the border. When we are about to reach the top, we roll back again and again and again. When is this going to come to an end? We are crying over this. And the money we are crying for is too little. It has failed to develop us. Let's get our share. Let's get a fair share of what we produce with them. Let's get back our taxes. They themselves collect taxes from their companies. They don't give them the concessions we give them. They don't let them get away with the taxes they are getting away with from. They take from us what belongs to us. And they come as donors after that, as helpers, as benevolent people. Someone steals from you, and then the following day they come, no, I'm here to help you a little bit. One who has stolen, the thief has stolen your wealth. And then the same thief comes back tomorrow and says, I've come to help you, but on this condition, that condition. And then the next day, the same thief says, no, I've helped you enough. Now it's America first. We are shutting this, we are closing this, we are stopping this. And you started to cry for that help. That is not really help. Let's not mourn over the aid from America. Let's mourn over what they have stolen and try to get back what they have stolen, or close the tap.
I want to throw in something there, Dr. Mwiimbu. President Hichilema's reaction to those developments. He recently admitted that with Donald Trump in the White House, Zambia should not expect much, and called development around USAID as a slap on both cheeks. He later on went to admit that we will have to buy our own ARVs. But I would also like to get your opinion on this. In the short term and beyond funding for medications like ARVs, what structural reforms are needed in Zambia's healthcare system, and how would you implement them if you were in power to avoid the situation that we're in today?
Sorry to be a bit extreme. We have been stupid to leave 1.2 million of our fellow citizens living with HIV today in the hands of a foreign agency, foreign governments, to look after them. We warned about this. We have been warning over a long period of time. What happens when they pull the plug to these 1.2 million people? We have said it before. We were warning, and it has happened now. We have to be more caring. You cannot leave 1.2 million of your fellow citizens to be dependent for medications donated by someone you don't have control over. We don't have control over the policies of the United States or any other government. We have got control over our own policies. That's too serious an issue to live in the hands of a foreign entity. The lives of our people cannot be left to the benevolence of a traveler, an explorer. We can't. When they want this or that from us, they give us a little bit of drugs. When they don't want, they close the tap. Again, it was an illusion by Mr. Hichilema thinking other people can solve our problems. He came here before the elections saying he has mobilized $25 billion from the US investors on a visit there. Where is that $25 billion? Again, let's start to look inward. Let's start to focus on our people. Let's start to depend on ourselves. We have something to sell. We have things to sell to other people to get their money. They are getting our minerals. And the money that comes from those minerals, they just leave us holes. And they just leave us pollution of our rivers. For how long are we going to continue on this path? This is not new. There's nothing new that has happened with Trump. There's nothing strange that Trump has done. This has been their behavior in varying ways. We revolutionaries understand that very well. We Pan-Africanists understand that very well. Imperialist puppets have difficulties understanding that, and they sit at the slap on this cheek and the other cheek. It's not fault. It's not an act of nature. Yes, we have had a drought here, but the prices of food did not start with the drought. They started long before the drought. Who is to blame for all this? It's themselves. It's Mr. Kainde Hichilema. The buck stops at him. They were enriching themselves at the expense of the Zambian people. Today they want to make food prices and other costs and the high cost of living as if it's something ordained on us by God. No. They created it. Out of greed, out of vanity, out of selfishness. These are things they could have mitigated.
In case you're just joining us, we have Socialist Party President in studio. Dr. Fred Mwiimbu joins us on the...
Looking at how you used to run your post newspaper, where you decided not to pay tax to the Zambian people, the suffering Zambian people, who need the health services, like the one you are complaining about, Yaba Trump. How do you think Zambians can trust you or vote for you? Secondly, how do you feel now that you have been practicing politics of device, where you have been pointing east to west, saying, no, me, I'm for the east, I'm not the puppet of the west. How do you feel now that Trump and Russia, they are in good books? Where do you stand? How are you going to approach this? When you talk about the cost of living, Dr. Fred Mende, really we need to be sincere. This is our country. Even if we want power, although some of you people, it is like you are dreaming. How do you expect to win an election when in the last election you only got 17,000 votes countrywide, and the winner got 2.8 million votes? How do you think you can overturn that to manage to increase your votes from 17,000 to 2.8 million? And like the way you are putting it, because it's like you have got no solution to what we are going through. Are you not aware that in this country, in the past 2 years, this country has been struggling because of the drought we had?
Comrade Mkosa, I'll ask you to get your point quickly. I've given you enough time. I've given you enough time to get your point across.
Okay, comrade. Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. Dr. Membe, please respond to that.
Yeah. Let me start with Mr. Mukosa's issue about the post. Mm-hmm. This is an issue that has been written about so many times, talked about so many times, litigated upon, and there's even a judgment of the Supreme Court on it. There's even a judge who has been dismissed over it. Sometimes propaganda, when it fails, it should be abandoned. There has been so much propaganda about the post, ignoring the truth is the post was not closed over the failure to pay taxes. That's something even the leaders of the UPND today, Mr. Kainde Hichilema himself, defended when the post was being closed. They issued a statement in that regard, that the post was not being closed over tax issues. Just for those maybe who are new, let me explain. When they wanted to close the post, those who closed it, they came with a tax bill of some big figure that I've forgotten the number exactly. The accountants of the post, who were not me, it was a big company, it was not a Kantemba. I was not the accountant of the post. They looked at it. I asked them, is this correct? They said, no. What should we do? We called our lawyers. And it was agreed to take the issue to a tax company, Deloitte. It was taken to Deloitte. A Mr. Piri was handling that issue, a partner there. They opened up negotiations with the ZRA to reconcile the figure. When the figure was going down, they jumped the negotiations. We went to the Tax Appeals Tribunal. The Tax Tribunal ordered ZRA to let the post operate and reconcile the figures. Again, the process of reconciliation continued. The figure was dropping. It was crumbling. What did they do when they realized that it will get to nothing? They jumped out and eventually closed the post using some unscrupulous means, which have ended up in Judge Sunday Nkonde being expelled from the judiciary in the way he handled the tax post issue. The Supreme Court issued a judgment on the issue. If we had evaded taxes, tax evasion is a crime. You are arrested and prosecuted. It's not a civil matter. You are arrested and prosecuted. None of us at the post, the accountants and so on, has ever been prosecuted for tax evasion because we never evaded any tax. So the post was not closed because of taxes. We never evaded taxes. The company operated for 27 years. It was paying high salaries to people. It was paying salaries that even today, the Zambian media are not paying that much. There are people who left the post to join government. They went into government on lower salaries than they were getting. You can ask them, they're still there. The post was not a contempt and it was not closed because of taxes. So, Vamukosa, you can continue that propaganda for as long as you want. You can ignore the truth, you can ignore the realities for as long as you want. Nobody will stop you. You are accusing of dreaming. You are the dreamer. The worst dreamer, actually. Elections. Being the basis for not winning next year's elections. I think, again, Mr. Mukosa doesn't understand history. Mike Usata in 2001 scored the lowest vote. He had the lowest vote. There were a number of parties that were formed in 2001 after the failure of the third term of Mr. Chiruba. We had primarily 4 or 5 parties. We had the UPND, which had never contested the elections and was formed in the last quarter of 1998. We have PF formed in 2001, a few months before the elections. We had FDD formed in 2001, a few months before the elections. We had Heritage Party formed also at the same time. They went into those elections against SMMD, which had been running for more than 10 years. MMD, the presidential candidate, got 27-point-something%. That was Levi Mwanawasa. UPND, 3 years later, after being formed, the candidate, Mr. Anderson Mazoka, got 26-point-something%. Then you have the FDD, General Tembo got about 13 or so %. Then we had 79 seats. FDD 12, UNIP 13, or vice versa. They came out of those elections by UPND with 25 seats. FDD 1 seat, UNIP 0. SATA had 43 seats with PF. From being at the bottom 5 years area, the 2021 elections are not the 2026 elections, Mr. Mukosa. Our chances in 2026 are as good as anybody's chances. What we need is simply to work hard. And also, we are a party. It's not about Fred Membe. No. We are a party. It's a party. It's an apparatus. I'm not an independent candidate. And SP is not me. It's more than me. The value of an individual is limited. What about if I die today? SP will still live and contest next year's elections under another person. Mr. Mukosa, SP is not the poster again. SP is not Fred Membe. And SP is bigger than the members. It's bigger than the members because it also belongs even to those who are not members. No political party is voted for by members alone, you know. The numbers of members for each party is very small. UPND went into the elections last year with just over 300,000 members in 2021 years. PF had slightly over 400 and something. But look, the millions of votes they got were far above their membership. So, and why should it worry, why should it worry you, Mr. Mkosa, if the SP doesn't do well? Isn't that what you want? So why should that worry you? Who should worry is those who support SP, who want it to win. They should worry if it loses. For you, you should rejoice and celebrate. So what is your problem? What is your issue? If that's what you want, you don't want SP to do well. But what you have said just shows your inadequacies. Inadequacies in terms of memory, inadequacies in terms of understanding what has happened in our country, inadequacies in terms of where our country is, and inadequacies in terms of where the future lies. You have some work to do. You have some work to do on yourself. But stop lying. Go and read the Supreme Court judgment. Go and read the Tax Tribunal judgment. Read the truth about the post. Don't try to propagate lies, to repeat lies. If we had committed crimes, the Lungu government would have sent us to prison. If we had committed crimes, this government would have sent us to prison. They are not doing us a favor. They have never done us a favor. We are being arrested every day over trivial issues. Would they leave us over something so much that matters so much? Again, tax evasion is a crime for which you'll be arrested and be prosecuted.
All right, Dr. Mwiimbu, let's pick up more calls. 0974-870-877 or 0950-955-877. I'd like to hear from you this morning. Do call us now if you have a question or contribution. We have Dr. Mwiimbu on the hot seat. Good morning.
Morning, sir. How are you?
Good. How are you doing? What's your name?
Isaac Masaka.
Isaac, we have Dr. Mwiimbu in studio.
Yeah, Dr. Mwiimbu, morning.
Good morning, sir.
President wa Mwiimbu and the song Nyanya Ntwazuzera. Abantu mtakongelea manini nini walili alima solution huzo ndio na mwana kwetu fixing that. So ife kilikumbio kwana tupati nyaimo mwana ka mwana kanyo kutoa kite pake profile na tuza 2021 by nani kana general election na maboba zari tavitu chipa tikakomplena watu uzatindi mhondi so aule namba ule so ule nanda mu UPND batu kutoka ukaunda mafauda zote au maparenti watu wewe kusebenza weka mwana ka inakunika mapano tunajepa drama ya kipani kilichose au member tunakantipanja so as a member ndilipe bati kunikana mumene vilivili ndivile ngesote ngazituna padeti hapo so iswa member tulikuni mu opposition ngilizanye pamoja hapa tote 6 ali wose angawino wene ngawino ngazi president mwana amendeka so abantu bakazipera ko tena attack pa hiyo hapa auto wanavala post inafika kama kuposti singa kama kuposti sina sevenzeko sinizo kuti inavali wa bwanji singa kama kukamba bidemo sinaone ukamba ndio niona pa ground post ni yani ndipo muziwa kuti ilisoka beza nesa losi ndio mtazio na maweka sana wote naona nini kwenda singa video na mtampa post sina kanga kuti ni pesa ni pase cheka dibasa ya bwino so bamembe tulikuli imwe opposition wose tulikumbia kwa ndikubakingani pa ground tulipo ziko mu mndama
na totela shukuru bale anakuchiveshani.
All right, let's pick up another call. 0974-870-877 and 0950-955-877. We'd like to hear from you this morning. What's your take? Do you have any questions for Dr. Mwiimbu from what he's been talking about on the hot seat? Good morning.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Mwakabwanji.
Takabwina mwakabwanji mwandanzi nani?
Kambana Wazimba.
Wazimba funsani funso yanu.
Funso yanga Wamembe mwakabwanji.
Takabwina mwakabwanji Azimba.
Wino. Wamembe funso yanga ine yako ati nifunoziwa. Na imwe muzakankala wamozi wamele batinama oti mwakamba vinangu ikafika time mtakukotelani na imwe muzakachinja. then ngati simuzakachinja tizaziva bwanji kuti muzakhala vosiyanako nava vevalipo vevanamba kuchinama vana chinama ye makwesheni yanga ayayo.
Okay, Skoma Wazimba. Dr. Mwiimbu, allow you to tackle those.
Wazimba, lelo mwatumako oyu okuyamibombera amibepa. Mayolo mwaisa atumako oyu amibepa. Aminyunya amigonga. Mwala atumako na umbi kuya komwebene okuyayibombera. Inshita ya kuibombera na ifika mwabepwa pafula baminyunya pafula bamigonga pafula. Socialist Party HRFY te kuchinja fechi pani chireteka na kateka uleteka. Kuchinje mitekere. Ngata tuchinjishe mitekere takuliyo kutuleya. Mukalabepwa chirabushiku. Mwabepwa na pafula. Ilukeni. The Socialist Party is not about one person lying to you. If wababe mbatutila infu mushitungulu la fie. Abateka vantu, abachitefintu vantu. Leaders lead, the people govern. If the leaders lead and govern at the same time, what is your role? Nshiba minyunya, ba migonga. This is not about one person. What the Socialist Party is seeking is increased participation. You can't have a revolution when there's no increased popular participation. We need all the leaders of our people to participate in the governance of this country. The governance of this country cannot be left to a politician alone. Since 1964 to date, we have been led by politicians alone. The other leaders are being excluded or marginalized in a very big way. The politician is not the only leader of our people. We have the traditional leadership. They are also leaders, authentic leaders of our people. We have the religious leaders. They are also authentic leaders of our people. We have those in business. They are also leaders of our people. We have the professionals. We have the trade unions. We have those in cooperatives, and so on. What the Socialist Party is seeking is to bring all these leaders into play. And moreover, the politician is not the best of our leaders. Nga tulefo okupianika emfumu. Tulefo okupianika ba Mwinemushi. Ulupwa lule ekala. Limuti mwasanga pali 10, 20 abepwa abali tutakwalify okupianda tusalapo fyeunga umo. Tusalapo empanda iya kwatisha amano, iya temosha abantu, iya ishibo kusunga ekyalo. Ewo tupianika pa bufumu pali Mwinemushi. Chimochine, when we wanted to choose the leaders from our families, priests, reverends, pastors, we choose the best of our families. The best in terms of God-fearing. The best in terms of loving God's people. The best in terms of honest humility. Those are the ones we take to lead our churches. If you saw so if you ashela fia to aposa kulukungu epo tuya mukutola politician. No kumubika pantansh. Ichalo tichalondoka. You are led by the waste of your leaders. What the Socialist Party is saying, this has to change. All the leaders, all the authentic leaders of our people have to participate in the governance of this country. And the Socialist Party has put an elaborate system in consultation with our people. Consultations with the traditional leadership and their people. Consultation with the religious leadership of our people. Consultations with the business leadership of our people. Consultations with the professional leaders of our people and others, the trade unions. And we have come up with a program that will help all these forces of our people, all these authentic leaders of our people to participate in the governance. And when you do that, the chances of one person manipulating the whole process, lying to you, cheating you, dribbling you, ukumigonga, kwachepa ukwapwa. So Bazimba, the system that we want to put in place will minimize the chances of you being cheated again. the way you were cheated in 2021.
Let's pick up more calls. It's 0974-870-877. It's 0950-955-877. Good morning.
Good morning, comrades. Good morning, Dr. Fred Mwiimbu. How are you?
I'm fine, comrade. How are you?
Good. My name is John Mwanza. I'm calling you from Kanyama constituents. Comrade Mwiimbu, you are speaking very well. The floor is hearing you. The nation is hearing you. Everyone who is driving now is hearing you. You are the best options to lead this country. Zambians have failed enough under this fake leadership. I mean the word fake leadership, which is very simple. It is fake leadership who are there to intimidate people who are opposing them. Whatever advice you give them, they oppose it and arrest. Please just work hard with other opposing political parties, which is Trans Alliance, so that we remove people from the government. Zambians have suffered. Those people who are doing business now, they can't even sustain their business. Their business has been ruled off because of road shading. The cost of living is high. These people, they don't have any other alternative to boost the economy of Zambia. You are the alternative. We have heard you. Thank you, comrades.
All right, thank you very much, John. It's 0974-870-877 or 0950-955-877. We want to hear from you this morning. Do call us now. We have Socialist Party President Dr. Fred Mwiimbu on the hot seat this morning. So if you have a question or contribution, do call us on those lines. It's 0974-870-877 or 0950-955-877. Good morning.
Good morning, Pizzi. How are you?
Good. How are you doing? What's your name?
Robson. Good morning, Mr. Man.
Good morning, sir.
Robson?
Yes, Robson.
All right, Robson, please go ahead with your question or contribution.
I just have a few questions for Mr. I've heard you're speaking well. You sound so sweet, just like these other politicians. What is it that makes you different from these other politicians that we have ever had? When you say your government will rule with a different kind of aggressiveness, what constitution are you going to use? Are you going to use a different one from the one that we have? If it is the same one that we have, how are you going to make it different? And I think the last one, as much as we would love to be read by someone different, I think at the end of the day, I still a politician. So what is it that makes you different from previous politicians? Thank you so much.
All right, Robson, thank you very much for your questions. Dr. Mwiimbu, please respond to those.
I'm a different human being because God created us, all of us, differently. Each one of us is different. I'm different from you, Robson. You are different from me. You are different from your brothers, from your sisters, from your parents, and so on. Even if you are born by your mother and your father, your identity is still very different. Your fingerprints are different, and so on. So each one of us is different. And that's the way God has created us. We don't have a choice over that, no matter how much we want to be the same. Even politicians are different. They are different. But the issue here at hand is not about me as an individual. Me as an individual, my contribution is very limited. My value as an individual to what is going on is very small. It's not about me. It's about you. It's about the people. It's about the collective of us. Me on my own, there's very little I can achieve. Tutila umuno umo tausalenda. Without the participation of others, without collective participation, there's very little that an individual can do. I'm not a MacGyver, and I don't present myself as such. I'm not a Samson who can push this, push that. We are not seeking for an individual genius. We are seeking for a collective genius. The knowledge I have as an individual is very limited. What I can do on my own is very limited. Amano alefwa iko kuchinje mikalire Yesu. Ineneka tetinkwate. Amaka alefwa iko kuchinje mikalire Yesu. Ineneka tetinkwate. Kanunga tuwabike mitwe pamono kubombera pamo. So there are others who have presented themselves as fixers. They will fix this, they will fix that. I'm not in that category. I'm not a Ronaldo, I'm not a Messi, and so on. But even Ronaldo or Messi, on their own, they cannot win a match. They need 10 other players on the pitch for them to win, to function. They need a good goalkeeper. They need good defenders. They need good midfielders. And they need others to support them up front. And they need even a good coach. They need even backroom staff to prepare the kit, to do all this. They need a driver to transport them to the pitch. So me on my own, I can't. What do I bring? I bring a little contribution to the leadership of our party. And if given a chance, of our country. That's all I bring. Again, I told you, or I said earlier, info mushitunguru lafie, abateka abachitefintu bantu. Vachitimu kulubeka tete bakwanishiyo kutunguru olubemba. No kuteka olubemba pamo. Echo twakwatira info mwishingi sana mu lubemba. Echo twakwatira bamwine mushabengi. And the other people who play a role in the governance of Lubemba. So those others who have presented themselves as MacGyvers, those others who have presented themselves as fixers, you can see their performance. What have they delivered? Where have they taken us? And you still want to have more fixers? You still want to have more MacGyvers? You still want to turn me into that? For sure, I will not turn into that. If at the end we fail, it will not be me alone who fails. It will be all of us failing because it will be collective effort and decision making. Socialist democracy we're talking about is people deciding together, building together in fraternal love to improve themselves, to improve their country, to live better, they themselves and their children and children's children. Can this be done by one person? No. No matter how meritorious they are, no matter how educated they are, this is not work that can be done by one Fred Membe, one fixer, one MacGyver, one Bali. We have seen where this has taken you. Please move away from that path. Start to have confidence in your own efforts. Start to have confidence in your ability. Start to work very hard every day to improve yourself and increase your contribution to the governance of this country. You as an individual, Robson.
Dr. Mwiimbu, I'd like to thank you very much for coming through to the hot seat. We have to end here. Our time is up.